Cutting contest for Billy Joe Rubideoux rebuilt knives. William Hovey Smith, 2017. I'm Hovey Smith, the owner of a new company, Hovey's Knives of China. And we also have the Billy Joe Rubideoux line, where we make kitchen knives from cast-off steels. And we also rebuild modern stainless steel knives. Now, I am the author of Backyard Deer Hunting, and not only do we build knives, we actually use them. We start from actually killing the creatures we cook. And here we try out 5 of our new rebuilds. We're going to do a series of cutting tests with our blades, and we have some really tough materials to work with. These are, of course, sweet potatoes, and are by their nature very, very irregular. So if we're going to make a julienne of sweet potatoes, the first thing we have to do is sort of square up the cut. And we're going to use this sow belly slicer here to make a rectangular piece out of this. And we're really having to saw through it. This knife, with its very, very thin blade, is a little bit uncomfortable to do this. It's sharp, but it's just uncomfortable. So we're going to go with this other slicer here, which has a thicker blade, and see if that is a little more workable. Yes. Yes. Well, another feature of this slicer here is that it has a very tiny handle. This is meant for a very small chef, and it's actually too small for my hand. To use it, I have to actually put my finger on top of the blade. With the longer handle, the bigger grip, which more nearly fits me, then I have my finger here, which is much more comfortable. And this is why you need to fit the blade to the user. And yes, this cuts much, much easier, much better, much faster. And for my hand, this works better. Okay, so the next process in the julienne is to cut these very thin slices here. We still take some sawing through, by the way. Sweet potatoes are tough. Now this is a hard test for these knives. You see it even slipped out from beneath my finger hole here. There we go. All right. So these did middling well. All right. We're going to try knife number 3. This one is a Japanese design of a type of chopping knife. Although this particular knife was made in China, it is on a Japanese pattern. And these are little divots here are to make it easier for the product to break free from the blade so it doesn't stick from the blade. Particularly so in the case of meats. Again, we're going to go through exactly the same exercise to square up our product. The grind of this knife wants to make the cut twist. It wants to make the cut go in this direction. So it's difficult to get more difficult to get a straight cut. It's sharp. It works. All the knives are sharp, but you get an angular cut with it just because of the grind of the blade. You notice where our previous blocks were nice and square. This one is coming out angular. And this is because of the shape of that blade. Okay. Now here is a knife that has a double-edged ground blade. And this is uniformly ground on both sides. The steel is very sharp. It's a very strong knife. It has a huge handle here because it's meant for a really big guy. And whereas this one is meant for a really tiny gal. Yeah, that's quite a difference. It's almost impossible to cut a straight slice. The blade is ground so that it wants to kick off to one side. So that is a problem with this kind of blade. Nothing wrong with this grind, by the way, and many knives are so ground. But it's just not capable of doing this kind of work. You have to go with a knife that has a more straight grind, and then you can get a good even slice. There. You see, much better. Okay. Now we come to a little Excalibur here. The Excalibur is ground on one side. A very much abused blade, as I have said several times. The point was twisted, and it was about this long, and had a huge plastic grip on it, and just a terrible knife. This is again made for a person with a very small hand, for the same person for whom I'm making this knife. So it's a little small for me. But now we're just going to test and see how the blade cuts. Very nice. Oh, almost effortless. Blade is very sharp, it's very thin. Now I was telling you about product sticking. Yeah. You see, these are wanting to stick to the side of the blade. And now you can be as delicate as you wish to be with making your little julienne potatoes. And these sweet taters are very much tougher than ordinary Irish potatoes, by the way. So these are coming out nice. Okay. Let's see if we can do a whole stack here. Oh yes. The stack building up on the blade, sort of interesting phenomenon. I think it'd be much simpler if we cut this way. Yeah. Very uniform little logs there. Yeah, real pleasure to use. Okay. Now we come to yet another knife here. This has an offset handle. and I call it a garlic slicer. And we're actually going to work some garlic and ginger with it in a little bit. And we're going to see how it does. I'll get our stack ready. Now this grind is actually for a left-handed user, and I'm right-handed, is trying to kick the product away in this direction because of the strong bevel on the blade. Not working quite as precisely as Excalibur did. Although Excalibur is ground in the same direction, the bevel is not near so pronounced as this, and the blade is center. And that thin blade really helps. Beautiful, nice, functioning little blade. And this one works just fine. And we're going to try it on some garlic in just a second. Now this is what I envision this knife to be, actually. It's a garlic dicer. There are such things as garlic presses, and you can do garlic much more efficiently than I'm doing right now. But this does illustrate the utility of the blade. Yeah, it's doing just like it's supposed to. And the handle, yeah, the handle is much improved over the little bitty skinny thing that it was. Plus it was bent over to one side and made of miserable wood and all kinds of evils. And originally this knife had a serrated blade, and I redid it as a straight bladed knife, which is a great improvement. No professional chef would ever do this. Just takes too much time. But for home cooks who want to use their knives and really enjoy them, yeah, this is the sort of thing you can do. This is our onion, which is on its way to becoming dehydrated. As you can see, the rounds are now becoming separated, and the skin is quite loose. So we're going to use our little garlic dicer here and see what we can salvage from it. We're going to saute these vegetable products here. Very nice. I want to try to get a nearly uniform small mince here. We're going to finish it off with a few runs with this chopper. Now, one reason I ground this blade absolutely straight, so that when it comes down against a flat surface of a cutting board, the entire surface cuts. And as long as a blade is sharp, yeah, it's continuing to cut this material, even though it's something almost like paper. So this is giving a very, very nice uniform chop through this marginally useful piece of onion here. So yeah, now that onion has been salvaged. Ginger is another very tough root. And so for this, we're going to use this Japanese chopper here. We're going to cut off a section like this. Okay, well done, good cut, slid off to one side, smells. You can't, but I can. Okay, we're going to use this to sort of peel it. Doing a good job. The very thin blade here, which was detrimental at its original length, really helps now that I have shortened it. It makes this a very much more effective knife. Now these ginger slices can be put in a sachet and actually dumped in a soup or stew, just like they are, to derive the seasoning from them. But now we're going to harvest and dice very finely this peeled ginger root. This knife does very well for slicing. Very thin. Okay. When you do something like this, you want to make sure you don't slice your fingertips off, by the way. That has been known to happen. Not good. Okay. So now we have it stacked. And we can sort of mince like this. Now you can cook with long strips of ginger like this when you want to get a little of the crunch of the ginger itself in your dish. Now when you do though, be warned, this is going to be quite hot. So we're going to dice this some more, and we're going to use this blade, which is a more effective chopper than any of the rest. For this purpose, this much ginger is going to go in a stew we're going to do. And this much ginger is going to go in a pot to make a ginger tea. I'm sort of running out of demonstration space here, but these are our beans we're going to use. These have been pre-washed, by the way. So we've done that step. Putting most of the edges here parallel, near as possible. We'll use our sow belly slicer here and take most of these tips off in one slice. Okay, get rid of those. Now we'll take fewer of them at a time and work them. We'll be a little fancy and cut them diagonally. It's a pleasure to work with good knives on good food. Although not especially intended for this use, this knife will take these off too. It will work. Not that best choice. First off, the blade is thick, so it doesn't cut quite as easily. The grind leaves for a strong edge, but a thick one, so it's requiring more energy. But, you know, it will get the job done. So if you're in hunt camp and these are the style knives you have, they're not as good as the really well-designed culinary knives, but they will do that very well. We have held our rebuilt knives cutting competition, and the clear winner is Excalibur. Yeah, the little paring knife. It cut cleaner, better, required less force, gave a straighter cut, and performed in all ways better than these larger competitors in this particular test. Now, Excalibur has a very thin blade, and that certainly helped it. Its very tiny grip degraded from its use in my hand, but nonetheless, the superior qualities of the blade overcame that fault. The next runner-up was a large slicer, which was heavy enough to cut through those sweet potatoes and garlic and ginger with very good ease, gave very good straight cuts, and most chefs and cooks would be very pleased with that knife. That's a very nice knife indeed. Now the other knives also performed decently. Although in a contest there can only be 2 winners. And in this competition, Excalibur, despite starting out as a much abused knife, actually won the competition. This knife is available right now for sale for $80. It used to be $60, but now that it's won, it's $80. It deserves a little extra. We're lightly sauteing our vegetables in this fry pan. As you can see, they're fairly well along now. And the object is to get these sweet potatoes soft, and they are. So we're done with this stage right now. We have completed our knife testing with the final result of making food. We have a simple stir fry here with the unusual addition of sweet potatoes, which incidentally turn out just fine. They're a great addition. Yeah. And we have our usual deer meat, and of course, pole beans. And our ginger tea, which turns out to be drinkable even without dilution. And we have a ginger cracker here, which is a soft ginger cracker from Serbia, from the former Yugoslavia. So, this is going to be my lunch. But now, this is Hovey Smith, reminding you to hunt what you eat and eat what you hunt. Be legal, be ethical, be safe. Goodbye, God bless, and see you next time. Not only am I the author of Backyard Deer Hunting, I have other outdoor books such as Extreme Muzzleloading, Crossbow Hunting, and Practical Bow Fishing, as well as an e-book line on muzzleloading. Rebuilding these stainless steel knives allows me to make a custom knife for chefs and cooks for much less cost than I can do it for one of my own custom blades. All knife work is done here in Central Georgia. For more information on my books, blogs, and more than 625 videos, you can go to my website, www.hoveysmith.com. Good hunting and good eating from the outdoors. Goodbye, and God bless.